So picture this Spain in the 1970s.
Okay.
A young art student,
Mm-hmm.
Mikel Lejarza is his name,
Okay.
and he is suddenly thrust into the shadowy world of espionage.
Oh.
His mission to infiltrate the Basque terrorist group ETA,
Right.
living a lie that could cost him everything.
Yeah.
And what makes this deep dive so gripping is we have Mikel's own words to guide us.
Oh.
His autobiography, Yo confieso 45 años de espía,
Okay.
45 years as a spy.
It's not every day we get such raw, unfiltered access to the mind of a master spy.
I know, it's incredible.
Lejarza's story isn't just a sterile recounting of dates and operations.
Right.
It's a deep exploration of the psychological toll of undercover work and the murky ethics of espionage.
Exactly. We're talking about the man behind the code name El Lobo the Wolf. Now, you might be wondering, how does an art student, someone with seemingly no connection to this world, end up recruited by intelligence agencies?
Yeah, how?
Well, that's one of the most fascinating aspects of this story.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
So Lejarza wasn't actively seeking out a life of espionage.
Right.
In fact, he later critiqued agencies for using agents who were too obvious, too trained.
Mm.
He believed in being a natural, someone who could blend in seamlessly.
Yeah.
And it seems that's exactly what drew the Spanish intelligence services to him. A blank slate, someone who could move through these circles undetected.
Wow.
Yeah.
But imagine the weight of that decision.
Oh, yeah.
Lejarza himself talks about the fear and uncertainty he grappled with.
Right.
This wasn't some Hollywood action hero.
Right.
He's as a young man wrestling with a choice that would define his life.
And this is where the humanity of Lejarza's account shines through.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from those emotions.
Right.
He even describes taking long walks in nature,
Yeah.
trying to find a moment of peace amidst the turmoil.
Wow.
It reminds us that even those who operate in the shadows are still human, vulnerable to the same doubts and anxieties as the rest of us.
Absolutely. So he takes the plunge, accepting this dangerous mission.
Yeah.
But then comes the hard part, actually infiltrating ETA.
Right.
This wasn't just about putting on a disguise.
Right.
He had to fabricate an entire past, convincing hardened militants that he was one of them.
And this is where Lejarza's approach differed from traditional methods.
Okay.
He wasn't a fabricated agent relying on a rigid backstory.
Mm-hmm.
He believed in becoming the role, improvising, reacting authentically to situations. He observed that being genuine, truly inhabiting the persona, was far more effective than any manufactured cover.
Wow. That's incredible.
It is.
And the book is filled with these moments of incredible tension.
Yeah.
Where one wrong move could have exposed him.
Oh, I can imagine.
There's this one anecdote that really captures this.
Okay.
Lejarza finds himself at a party surrounded by members of ETA when suddenly he spots people he knows are connected to an anti-ETA group.
Oh, no.
The level of composure he had to maintain knowing the stakes,
I know.
it's hard to even fathom.
Talk about being caught between two worlds.
Right.
That constant fear of exposure of your carefully constructed life crumbling around you.
Right.
It takes an immense psychological toll.
I can't even imagine.
Imagine the mental fortitude required to navigate those situations. Never letting your guard down, always one step ahead.
Wow.
It's a testament to Lejarza's skill and resilience.
And this all builds up to what would become one of his most well-known operations, Operation Lobo.
Right.
Lejarza's intelligence gathering leads to a massive crackdown on ETA.
Wow.
Key figures are captured, weapons, caches are seized.
Okay.
On the surface, a resounding victory for Spain's fight against terrorism.
Right.
But as with everything in this world, the aftermath is far more complicated.
Right. Instead of the hero's welcome he might have expected,
Right.
Lejarza feels betrayed by the very people he risked everything for.
Wow.
He's quickly shuffled around, given a new identity, almost treated as a liability now that his cover is potentially blown.
Oh, wow.
You can sense the bitterness in his words as he recounts those years later.
And it's a bitterness that's compounded by a sense of what could have been.
Yeah.
Later in life, he reflects on the possibility that maybe he could have done more.
Right.
That perhaps if he'd remained undercover, more lives could have been saved. It raises all sorts of ethical dilemmas.
Of course.
Was the victory truly worth the cost?
Right.
And at what point do the lines become so blurred that you can no longer distinguish between fighting for a cause and being a pawn in a much larger game?
This is where Lejarza's story transcends the individual and becomes a microcosm of Spain's turbulent transition to democracy.
Wow.
The lines between counterterrorism, political maneuvering, and personal sacrifice become increasingly tangled.
It's incredible.
We see how those in power, those he put his life on the line for, were all too willing to discard him once his usefulness had served its purpose.
It would have been understandable for someone in his position to wash their hands of it all, to disappear into anonymity.
Sure.
But Lejarza's story doesn't end there.
Really?
In fact, this is just the beginning.
Oh, wow.
He continues working for Spanish intelligence for years, taking on a range of missions that span from the straightforward to the morally complex.
From infiltrating other dangerous groups to investigating international arms deals.
Wow.
Lejarza's life reads like something out of a spy thriller.
Right.
But what sets his account apart is the unflinching honesty with which he grapples with the ethical quagmire of his profession.
And amidst all of this, we catch glimpses of his personal life,
Okay.
his unconventional courtship with his future wife, the decision to shield her from his double life for years,
Right.
even winning the lottery while navigating a high-stakes meeting. It's a reminder that even within the extraordinary circumstances of espionage life, with all its complexities and banalities, goes on.
Yeah, what a life.
And those glimpses into his personal life highlight the compartmentalization that someone like Lejarza had to master.
I know, right?
Imagine having this entire other life, this secret identity that you can't even share with the person you love most.
Yeah.
The emotional burden, the constant fear of exposure.
Right.
It's astounding he was able to maintain any semblance of normalcy.
Yeah. And he talks about how he used to carry a fake ID card from the Spanish Falange, a far-right political party, as a cover.
Wow.
Can you imagine the mental gymnastics involved in keeping those details straight?
Right.
Constantly being someone you're not even in your own home.
Oh my gosh. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it underscores the unglamorous reality of espionage.
Right?
It's not all high-stakes chases and gadgets.
Right.
It's about blending in, mastering the mundane, waiting for the right moment to act.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's about making impossible choices, compromising your values for a cause you believe in.
And speaking of impossible choices, there's a chilling incident Lejarza recounts that illustrates the constant danger he faced.
Yeah, what's that?
While at an ETA training camp in France,
Okay.
an anti-ETA group suddenly attacks.
Oh my gosh.
Turns out it was a botched operation by Spanish intelligence, one that could have easily gotten him killed.
Talk about being caught in the crosshairs.
Right.
That incident speaks volumes about the precariousness of his situation.
Yeah.
He's caught between two sides, neither of which he can fully trust.
Right.
It's a lonely and terrifying existence.
And then there's the emotional toll of his double life finally catching up to him.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine building a life on a foundation of secrets, only to have those secrets threaten to destroy everything you've worked for.
Right?
That's exactly what happens when Lejarza gets caught up in a political scandal involving the Spanish government's dirty war against ETA in the late 1980s.
This is where his story takes an even darker turn.
Right.
He becomes a pawn sacrificed by the very people he served to protect their own interests.
It's unbelievable.
It's a stark reminder of the ruthlessness of the intelligence world,
Right.
where loyalty is often fleeting and those in the shadows are easily discarded.
He's imprisoned, accused of being involved in illegal activities.
Wow.
Can you imagine the feeling of betrayal, of being punished for your loyalty?
I know, it's just,
Yeah.
it's hard to fathom.
Yet even in prison, he fights to clear his name, driven by a belief in the cause he served, however flawed it might have been.
And that unwavering sense of duty is interwoven throughout his entire story.
Right.
Even when faced with betrayal and disillusionment, he never completely loses sight of the bigger picture. Protecting his country from the threat of terrorism.
Right.
It's a complex and nuanced perspective that challenges us to look beyond simple narratives of good versus evil.
It really does, and his story raises so many questions about the true cost of national security, the sacrifices made by individuals like Lejarza, and the moral compromises that come with operating in the shadows.
Yeah.
It's a story that stays with you long after you've turned the final page.
Absolutely.
It's a stark reminder of the thin line these operatives walk between duty and despair.
Duty and despair.
Exactly. And to think this ordeal, this betrayal by his own government, is just one chapter in Lejarza's incredible life story.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah.
He eventually wins his freedom, but not without scars.
Right.
The experience leaves him questioning everything, wrestling with the weight of his actions and their consequences.
Wow.
It's a recurring theme in his writing, this constant battle between patriotism, disillusionment, and the moral ambiguity of espionage.
It would be easy to get lost in the grand narratives of espionage, the geopolitical chess matches.
Right.
But what makes Lejarza's account so compelling are the small human details he reveals.
Well, yeah, give us an example.
Like stumbling upon Josu Ternera, a high-ranking ETA leader at an airport in Germany.
Right.
Or spotting Idoia Lopez Riaño, known as the Tigress.
Okay.
Having drinks with a Spanish civil guard officer. These chance encounters that feel ripped from the pages of a spy novel.
Wow, what are the odds?
Right. It's crazy.
It gives us a glimpse into this hidden world, this network of spies and informants operating beneath the surface of everyday life.
Right.
Each encounter a potential trigger point, a reminder that danger lurks around every corner.
And it's not just encounters with ETA that highlight the breadth of Lejarza's experience.
Right.
He goes on to work with intelligence agencies around the world.
Wow.
From assisting the FBI and DEA with investigations to navigating the murky waters of international arms dealing.
So he's really doing it all.
He really is.
Wow.
He even found himself entangled in a bizarre scheme involving counterfeit U.S. Treasury bonds circulating in the 1990s.
Right.
Billions of dollars were at stake, and Lejarza was tasked with tracking down the source.
Wow.
It highlights the unpredictable nature of his career, the sheer range of situations he encountered.
From infiltrating terrorist cells to combating international financial fraud, it sounds like a career spanning multiple lifetimes all packed into one.
I know, it's incredible.
And it's through these experiences that Lejarza provides us with valuable insights into the world of espionage. He emphasizes the importance of improvisation, of being able to think on your feet and adapt to constantly shifting circumstances.
Yeah, he even criticizes the intelligence service's blunders moments where their rigid protocols and lack of awareness nearly cost him everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He recounts instances where he was given shoddy cover identities, sent into dangerous situations with little to no backup, and ultimately treated as expendable by the very people he was risking his life for.
It's kind of a recurring theme in these stories, unfortunately.
Right. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Despite the dangers, the betrayals, and the moral dilemmas, there's a thread of resilience that runs through Lejarza's story. He never loses sight of his core values, his commitment to protecting his country, even when those in power fail to uphold their end of the bargain.
And perhaps that's his greatest triumph.
Yeah.
In the face of extraordinary pressure, unimaginable risk, and constant deception, he emerges with his integrity intact.
It's amazing. You know, we often talk about the sacrifices intelligence operatives make,
Yeah.
but Lejarza's story really drives home the personal cost, you know, the weight of living a double life.
Absolutely.
For decades, he received no official recognition
No.
for his role in Operation Lobo,
Wow.
his contribution to crippling ETA.
It's a stark illustration of the unspoken pact these individuals make,
Right?
putting their lives on the line often with little hope of reward or even acknowledgement,
Yeah.
their actions veiled in secrecy for the sake of national security.
It wasn't until 2010,
Wow.
40 years after Operation Lobo,
40 years.
that the Spanish government finally acknowledged his service,
Okay.
awarding him the Cross of Military Merit with white decoration.
A long overdue recognition,
Right.
but one that couldn't erase the years spent in the shadows.
Right.
The scars, both physical and emotional, that his service left behind.
Oh.
Even after all those years, Lejarza admitted to still fearing retribution.
Oh, wow.
Think about that for a moment. The life of a spy, the constant looking over your shoulder never truly ends.
Yeah. That's incredible to think about.
It makes you wonder, was it worth it?
Right.
That's the question that lingers as you delve deeper into Lejarza's story.
Exactly.
The bravery, the sacrifice, the moral compromises.
Yeah.
It all paints a complex picture of a man forever changed by his experiences.
His story is a powerful reminder that the world of espionage isn't black and white.
Right.
There are no easy answers, no clear-cut heroes and villains. Just individuals grappling with impossible choices, navigating a world of secrets and betrayals, all in service of a cause greater than themselves.
So where does that leave us?
Right.
What can we take away from this deep dive into the life of Mikel Lejarza,
Yeah.
the art student turned master spy known as El Lobo?
His autobiography, Yo Confieso, is more than just a spy thriller.
Right.
It's a human story.
It is.
It challenges us to look beyond the romanticized facade of espionage, to
Exactly.
see the real people behind the code names,
Yeah.
and to understand the weight of the secrets they carry.
It's a story that prompts introspection,
Yeah.
urging us to consider the true cost of national security, The sacrifices made by individuals like Lejarza, and the often blurred lines between patriotism and moral ambiguity.
Exactly.
Ultimately, Lejarza's story is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit.
Right.
Despite the hardships, the betrayals, and the enduring burden of his past, he never loses sight of his humanity.
Wow.
That, I think, is the most important takeaway of all.
It really is a great point to end on.
Yeah, I think so too.